What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Rats Report. It's time to talk about the Toronto Raptors because they have made a trade with the Utah Jazz. So I will be discussing the full details in today's video. So if you're ready to watch, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to just Brian now. So Brian, I do apologize. I somehow missed your comment in the previous few videos, but the shout out goes out for you today. Let's talk about the Toronto Raptors because they made a deal with the Utah Jazz. We heard some rumors yesterday about what the potential deal between the two teams could look like. And there's some rumors that, Kelly Olynyk and Ochai could be heading to the Toronto Raptors. Now, the first question was, why would a team like the Utah Jazz want someone like a Bruce Brown? Well, it turns out it wasn't Bruce Brown all along. And the Raptors, I'll talk about this in just a moment, but let's talk about the trade details. And the full details were that the Utah Jazz are trading Kelly Olynyk and guard Ochai Agbaji to the Toronto Raptors for Kira Lewis, Otto Porter, and a 2024 first-round pick. Now, my initial reaction to this was, why in the world are we trading away first-round picks, even second-round picks? Similar to what I stated in my yesterday's video, the Raptors aren't in a position to be giving up first-round picks. But then when I look at the details of this trade, you have Otto Porter and you have Kira Lewis, both two expiring contracts. Both players that aren't getting minutes on the Toronto Raptors. And let's be honest, they weren't in the long-term plans. I was hoping for, I was a little bit high on Kira Lewis and most Raptors fans, but also to take into consideration that Bruce Brown wasn't involved in this trade at all. So this is not a bad trade by any means. But then we got future details about which first-round pick it was, and it was the least favorable of Oklahoma City Thunder and the Clippers. Then when you look at it from that point of view, it is not a bad trade by any means because it is essentially the least favorable between those two teams. And both of those teams currently right now are first and second in the Western Conference, at least last I checked. So again, that pick is very likely to be 28, 29, 30th. And we know the Raptors have a ton of picks, but also they have Detroit's second-round pick as well, which is very likely to be a 31st pick. So again, when you look at this deal like that, then all of a sudden this deal isn't bad by any means. The Raptors give up a couple of expiring contracts that weren't in the long-term plans for someone like a Kelly Olynyk and Ochai, who I'll be discussing in just a moment. And then you also essentially give up a late first-round pick. And you know what? When you compare what Ochai is currently, he's probably going to be contributing a lot more than a late first-round pick will be. But let's talk about the details of this video, and let's talk about what the contributions that Kelly and Ochai can make to the Toronto Raptors. Now, let's start with Ochai, guys. Similarly how I spoke to, about you guys yesterday, this will be very fascinating to see what happens because Ochai is a shooting guard, and he's also 22 years old. He's listed at 6'5", and as we saw with his stats yesterday, 7.9 points in his rookie season. This season, not doing as well, 5.4 points, but his minutes have gone down. His minutes went from 20.5 minutes to 19.7. He's also taking less shots per game as well. Last season, he was taking 6.5 attempts per game. He's shooting only about 4.9 field goal attempts per game this season. His three-point shot has gone down a little bit. It seems like all his statistics across the board has gone down besides his rebounding. So maybe some fans will be concerned. But when you watch his highlights, when you watch his game, and you realize what he's able to do, he will be an excellent get for the Raptors because they don't exactly have a player like Ochai. He's an athletic player. Although he's listed at 6'5", he plays much bigger than his size. He's got an enormous wingspan of 6'10", so that's always a good thing for the Toronto Raptors, who lost a lot of size and Precious and Pascal OG being traded this year as well. So this gives the Raptors a little bit more of the long wingspan guys, and also he soars in for some big dunks. He has some really nice cuts he makes, and he'll really feed off well with all of what the Raptors are currently doing, which is passing the ball, making cuts, and he gets a lot of alley hoops. He'll be great with someone like Scotty Barnes as well. Other guys that can pass the ball really well on the Toronto Raptors. So personally, I'm excited. I still think he hasn't hit his ceiling. There's a lot of potential with Ochai here. And it could be risky. There obviously is some factor in the fact that he hasn't played well this year. There may be some concerns, but overall, this is not a bad deal by any means. And I really do like Ochai. He gives the Raptors something different, but we also have to talk about Kelly Olynyk and what it could mean moving forward for guys like Gary Trent Jr. So Kelly Olynyk, guys, similarly to how I talked about yesterday, this gives the Raptors first dibs to sign him, re-sign him in free agency. He is a free agent heading into this year's free agency, and we know a lot of teams were interested. Now, first thing I want to say, Kelly Olynyk, he's a really nice player. He's Canadian, yes, but that's not why we acquired him. He gives the Raptors an option that they don't currently have. And again, this isn't a shot at Jonte, guys. Jonte, I feel like he could play with Kelly Olynyk as a power forward. Kelly Olynyk provides a little bit more size. He's 6'11". He's 240 pounds. He shoots the three-point ball really well at 42%. Although it's only on 1.7 attempts, it did shoot it at 39.4% on 3.5 attempts last season. He's a good passer, as you see there. 3.7 assists last season, 4.4 assists this season as a center. He is so amazing in some of the stuff he's able to do on the offensive side. Again, his point production has dipped a little bit, but naturally that will be. He's also 32 years old. Now, you're probably thinking in your head, why are we acquiring Kelly Olynyk? He's 32. He's about to be 33 in April. So it doesn't, from a fan's point of view, for a lot of you guys, you may be questioning why the Raptors acquired him. Simple. It gives the Raptors a different type of center as opposed to Jakob Poeltl. Kelly Olynyk also shoots his free throws exceptionally well. His career is 79.7% from the free throw line. The last 2 seasons, 84.2% from the free throw line. This season, last season, 85%. So he can play in late game situations and also space the floor as well. And if you know what the Raptors have done in the past with even guys like Mark and Serge Ibaka, it gives you a different type of center. They both provide something a little bit different. Serge Ibaka was a more mobile, center, whereas Mark was a more traditional center, even though he could space the floor. And then it gives the Raptors options for different types of matchups. And essentially what this allows the Raptors to do moving forward is they can draft a center in this year's draft class, and they're not rushed. The center they will draft will not feel rushed to, be really good really soon. We know centers take anywhere normally from 3 to 5 seasons to fully develop to their full potential. And the Raptors can now have Kelly as a backup center for another 2 seasons, which will allow that center to slowly come in and make his way into the Raptors rotation with no pressure. So those will be good for the Toronto Raptors. Now, quickly to touch on Ochai, though, real quick here, I do want to say it will be very fascinating to see what the Raptors do. He's a shooting guard. The Raptors also have Jordan Nwora. Let's not forget, it seems like they really like him, and they should keep him by all means. He's been really good as a role player for the Toronto Raptors, but also you've got to wonder, what does this mean for someone like a Gary Trent Jr.? Now, Gary Trent has been a very fascinating story for the Raptors. It seems like he's not in the long-term plans of the Toronto Raptors, although we haven't heard any trade rumors this season anyways. You've got to question, where does someone like a Gary Trent fit in all of this? The reason I'm saying this, guys, is because you got Grady Dick, who's a shooting guard. Now you got someone like an Ochai, who's a shooting guard. You've also got Jordan, who can play the small forward position, don't get me wrong. But then you've got to question, you got 4 guards on here that, you essentially 3 of them you definitely want to keep for the future, like Jordan, Ochai, and Grady Dick. Where does this leave someone like a Gary Trent Jr.? Do the Raptors now look to potentially move off of him, given the depth they have at the guard position? And not to take into consideration, they might just draft one in this year's draft class because they have so many picks. And also, what does this mean for someone like Bruce Brown moving forward? Right now, all of a sudden, it was being rumored that the New York Knicks yesterday are the most likely landing spot for Bruce Brown. And the sticking point was that the Toronto Raptors is holding out for a first-round pick. They do not want one in this year's draft class because they already had too many. But now, all of a sudden, you've got to wonder, is a first-round pick from the Knicks looking a little bit better now that the Raptors have traded away their first this year, right? Not their first, but at least one of the first rounds they had this year, right? So it makes you wonder, do the Raptors now move on from Bruce Brown and essentially just accept what the Knicks are offering them? So you've got to wonder about certain players like Gary Trent Jr., what happens with him moving forward with his future, and what a likely return piece could look like. So it'll be very fascinating. The last thing you want, I think, especially for a team like the Toronto Raptors, is to have too many young players and not have enough minutes to spread around, right? Obviously, Grady Dick is definitely getting minutes, and it seems like Ochai should absolutely get minutes. He's locked in for multiple seasons on a really, really good contract. So we'll see what happens moving forward. So I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are on this deal. Do you like this deal for the Toronto Raptors? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and that will be it for today's video, guys. So let me know if you want to shout out. I'm going to keep out trivia questions until, probably tomorrow, just because we'll probably see more trades and I might just come out with more videos. So let me know your thoughts. That will be it for today's video, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.